You're already being ignored. You just don't see it yet. And the mistake you're about to make is the exact reason it becomes permanent. Not over time, not gradually, in one move, a message, a tone shift, a single reaction you thought was harmless, but instantly changes how they see you. And once that shift happens, you don't fix it. You get placed. Below priority, below respect, below consideration. And this is where most people get it wrong. When someone starts ignoring you, they're not deciding about you. They're watching you decide your own value. And most people fail that moment immediately. I'm going to show you the 5 things you must never do when someone starts ignoring you. The exact reactions that turn a temporary shift into a permanent position you don't come back from. Starting with the one that feels the most harmless and does the most damage. Because if you miss that one, you didn't lose them later. You lost them right there. And if you don't want to keep making that mistake without realizing it, subscribe. Because this is exactly where people lose respect and think nothing happened. Number 1. The subtle beg. The first mistake, you won't even notice you're doing it. Because it doesn't feel like chasing. It feels polite. You walk into a room. They're there. You make eye contact for a second. And instead of letting that moment sit, you move. You walk over. You say something small, unnecessary. Not because you had something to say, but because the silence felt off. That's the mistake. You tried to fix a moment. That wasn't yours to fix. And they saw it. Not the words. The adjustment. The fact that you closed the distance the second it appeared. Which means something just flipped. You're no longer being responded to. You're responding. And the person who starts responding first is already giving up position. It's like when you're both standing with other people and they slowly drift into another conversation, and instead of staying where you are, you angle your body toward them, laugh a little louder, say something just to pull their attention back. Not consciously, but just enough to feel included again. That small shift? They notice it, because now it's clear their attention moved, and you followed it. Which means you felt the loss before they did, and the one who feels it first is the one trying to recover. And this is where most people make it worse, because they don't stop there. Number 2, over-explaining under pressure. And this is where most people make it worse, not by chasing, but by trying to correct how they're seen. You feel the shift, so you try to clean it up. Not loudly, carefully. You start adding context that no one asked for. I didn't mean it like that. I've just been busy. If I came off wrong. Sounds reasonable. But pause. Who are you explaining to? Someone who just pulled away. And instead of letting that distance speak, you start filling it. With reasons, with clarity, with justification. And in that moment, you're no longer being understood. You're being evaluated. Because now it's clear. You're trying to fix how they see you. Which means you've already accepted their position over yours. That's the shift. Not what you said. What it signals. You're negotiating your value. It's like when you're leaving somewhere together, and they're quieter than usual. So you start explaining your own behavior out loud, even though nothing actually happened. Filling the walk, filling the silence, just to smooth something that hasn't even been said. And halfway through, you realize, They weren't asking, but you kept going anyway. That's the paragraph. The moment you send a paragraph, you collapse the power dynamic, because now there's nothing left to figure out. No tension, no curiosity. Just someone trying to be understood. Gustave Le Bon caught it best in this line. He who is eager to be approved is rarely respected. Not because approval is bad, but because the effort to secure it exposes something. It tells them, I don't trust how I'm being perceived, so I need to manage it. And the moment you start managing how you're seen, they stop questioning you and start placing you. Be honest. Have you ever caught yourself doing that? Not reacting, but explaining. Trying to fix how you're being seen in real time? If you have, drop this in the comments. I don't chase clarity anymore. Because if that doesn't pull them back, most people don't stop there. They escalate. Number 3, emotional leakage. And this is where it stops being controlled. Not because you say something big, but because something small slips out. You answer differently. Shorter, sharper. Same words. Different tone. Cool. All right. Do your thing. Nothing obvious, but not neutral either. And here's the part people miss. You're not expressing how you feel. You're trying to hide it while still reacting. That never works. You didn't stay calm. You just tried to sound like you were. Picture this. You're sitting across from them at a table. They check their phone. Not once. Twice. Then they flip it face down, but don't say anything. There's a pause. You feel it. And instead of saying nothing, you pick up your drink, take a slow sip, and say, you can text them back if you want. Calm voice. Neutral face. But the timing? Too perfect. The line? Too unnecessary. That's the crack. Because now it's obvious. Not that you're angry, but that you were affected enough to adjust your behavior around it. That's what gives it away. The moment your tone changes, they know they got to you. That's exactly what François de la Rochefoucauld meant when he said, passions are the only orators that always persuade. Not because you said something wrong, but because your emotion spoke through it. The pause, the timing, the delivery. That's what convinced them. If you've ever done something like that, where you sounded calm, but it clearly wasn't. Like the video. Because most people think they're hiding it, until a moment like that exposes everything. And share it with someone who needs to see this before they make that mistake. And once it gets to this point, people stop trying to hide it. They start playing it smarter. Number 4, fake detachment. And once you realize you've been seen, you try to correct it. Not by chasing, by doing the opposite. You try to look like you don't care. And that's where it gets worse. Because now, you're not reacting emotionally. You're reacting strategically. Delayed replies, controlled silence, acting busy at the exact moment they pull away. Not random. Timed. Calculated. And that's the problem. Because real indifference doesn't need timing. It doesn't need adjustment. It doesn't check the clock before it responds. Real indifference is quiet. Performed indifference is loud. And people can feel the difference immediately. You're in the same space. You see them walk in. Normally, you'd acknowledge it. Eye contact. A nod, something small. This time, You don't. You keep your head down. Pretend not to notice, even when they're right there. And now, it's obvious. Not that you're unaffected, but that you're trying to be. That silence, too intentional. Because now you've done something worse than reacting. You've revealed awareness. You've shown them. You noticed the shift and adjusted your behavior around it, just in the opposite direction. Which means you're still orbiting them, just more quietly. If they can feel you trying not to care, you already lost the frame. At this point, it's no longer about what you say or don't say. It's about what your behavior confirms. That their attention still controls your response, even when you pretend it doesn't. And then comes the mistake people think is strength, but isn't. Number 5, passive silence without power. And this is where it goes quiet. Not on the outside, on your side. You stop reaching out. You stop talking. You stop reacting. And it feels like control. It's not, because nothing actually changed. You didn't step back. You just stopped moving. On the outside, silence. On the inside, you're still tracking everything. When they show up, who they talk to, how they act when you're around. You're not disengaged. You're just not visible anymore. You're in the same environment, same room, same circle, but now you position yourself just far enough away. Not to leave, but to observe. You don't join conversations. You don't initiate anything. But your attention? Still locked in. You hear their voice. Your focus shifts. They laugh somewhere. You register it immediately. And if they leave, you notice that too. You didn't remove yourself. You just removed your presence. And this is the most dangerous point. Because now, there's no signal. No boundary. No consequence. Just absence. And absence without intention doesn't create respect. It creates irrelevance. Silence isn't power. Directed silence is. And this isn't directed. It's reactive. If your silence still revolves around them, they still have control. Because at this point, you didn't reposition yourself. You disappeared. And disappearing doesn't reset how they see you. It confirms it. So if reacting makes it worse, and silence doesn't fix it, what actually changes the dynamic? Not control. Not pretending. Not waiting. You remove yourself from the game entirely. Not physically. Internally. Because up to this point, everything you've done still revolved around them. Even your silence. Real control starts here. You stop tracking. Not forcing yourself to ignore, but genuinely having nothing to check. No timing their responses. No noticing their presence. No adjusting your behavior around them. That's different. You walk into the same space. They're there. And for the first time, you don't calculate anything. Not whether to greet them, not whether to hold back, not whether they noticed you. Your attention is already somewhere else. Not as a move, as a default. That's the shift. Because attention is currency. And up to this point, you've been spending it where it's not being returned. The moment you stop doing that, everything changes. Not as a tactic, not to get a reaction, but because you're no longer available for dynamics that require you to chase, explain, or perform. That's what resets perception. No chasing. No signaling. No silent games. Just absence of investment, where it's not reciprocated. And when that becomes your standard, you don't need to react anymore, because there's nothing left to prove. When someone starts ignoring you, they're watching what you do next, not your words, your control, because everything you've seen in this video comes down to that one thing, not what you feel, what you show. Most people think respect is built over time. It's not. It's decided in moments like this. Quiet moments, where nothing is said, but everything is revealed. That's why Emma Goldman said, "The less you reveal, the more people can wonder." Because the moment you stop explaining, stop reacting, stop adjusting yourself to be understood, you give them nothing to work with. And that's where perception shifts. And the moment you stop reacting is the moment they realize they misjudged you. And if you've made it this far, you already see what most people don't. So don't stop here. Watch the next video on your screen, because that's where you learn what to do when they come back, or when they don't. Subscribe, and go through the playlist, because this isn't about one situation. It's about how people learn to see you